Good morning. This is VirtualPBX-admin training.
This is VirtualPBX-admin
Let
training.
me turn off some speakers there so we don't get some feedback. All right. So right now, showing you the Dash login page, which is at dash.virtualpbx.com. You can also get here from our support pages. So if you go to virtualpbx.com, mouse over support, you'll have a link there to get to the Dash login page. I do recommend you just simply bookmark this page so that way you can get here easily in the future. To log in, we need your email address, which is your username, your password, and then your account name, which is typically your company name. Now, the email address is the email address you use to sign up with us, or that your admin used to create your user. If for some reason you didn't get the password email or you simply forgot, down here on the right, under the account name, you've got forgot your info link. If you click on that, it'll flip it over. We still need your email address or username, and then we need either the account name or company name or a phone number that's on the account. And then you would click reset password. You'll get an email sent to you with a link that logs you in initially and allows you to change your password. Once you've changed that password, it will log you back out to make you use the new password, but also gives you a chance to click on Remember Me. All right, but then you get signed in. Now I am using a test account that's been around for 6 years or so. So when I log in, I get sent right to the dashboard page. If it's your first time logging in, you'll actually get sent to your account page, which you can always get to by clicking on your name at the top. And the Dash wizard will come up, right? It'll pop up letting you know what certain things are and what you can change. So here, this is where you would change your own email address or password for your particular user. You can also change your time zone, etc. Now, as an admin, I also have a link here for the account level settings. So this is where you would change, say, the time zone for the entire account, as well as selecting the language for the display language on the pages. Now, on your accounts, you'll have an additional section under where it says user for billing information. This is where you can see things like your service plan. You'll be able to see your invoices here. You can update your credit card here. And there's also the contact, right? The billing contact, which is essentially the account owner. So this is the person we would contact for any major account changes that need to be done. Once you're done here and done with the wizard, you just click close over here to the top right, and then you'll be on your dashboard page. And again, that first login, a little pop-up will come up letting you know what certain things are, but we'll just go through. So up here again, your name, you click on this gets you to the account page. For some people, you have a toggle here called DND for Do Not Disturb. If it's white, that means it's enabled, right? If it's all black with a white outline, that means it's not on or disabled. And the reason I don't have it is because my particular user is in an ACD queue, and we've encountered instances where users would click D&D on this page and then be logged into a queue and then not be getting calls because they're on Do Not Disturb. So this was removed for anyone who becomes a queue member. Next, we got the little help icon. This little sub window here. Chat with us. This opens up chat window so you can speak with support about whatever feature you're working on. The learn more will take you to the support pages. All right, so open up a new tab so you can look at the various guides we have written up. Oops. All right, online store. This takes you to store.virtualpbx.com. This is where you can order a VoIP phone, for example, a router, a headset, etc. And then this one here is the web phone. Now this one only shows up after you've added a web phone to your user, but this will actually open up a new tab in Chrome or Firefox, and then you can use Chrome or Firefox to make and receive calls right from your browser. Now, the web phone will only work with desktop browsers, right? So if you on your Android, if you pulled up Chrome trying to get to web phone, it might work, it might not. It's not something it's actually designed to work with, though. The 3 horizontal line icon here, or the hamburger menu, right? This takes you to additional features of Dash. Some of these have fees associated with them, some do not. So I'll try to make sure to highlight that. And then we have the logout icon. Over here on the left under dashboard, we have more core features of Dash. There are a couple that are plan specific, so I'll make sure to highlight that. And then in the middle here, we've got total users. I have 21. These are people who make and receive calls. Depending on your plan, adding a user may increase your bill, so that's something to be aware of. You can check the pricing page on our website if you just signed up to see what those costs would be. If you've been with us for a little while, you may want to double check with our account services team to verify what the cost would be for adding a new user. And then we have total devices. I have 46 devices, and then a breakdown with a little pie chart. So first up, we have soft phone, right? So software application that makes use of your internet connection to make and receive calls. That's the basic definition of a soft phone. This will include anyone making use of the VirtualPBX cell phone application. This can include a third-party cell phone, meaning you're using someone else's cell phone application. And this would also probably include if you use those third-party cell phone applications to program a VoIP phone that wasn't already supported by us. Right, and then I have 17 of those. Next up, I have cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. Then we've got the web phone. Right, so the web phone is technically a type of soft phone. We have broken it out just because it's newer. It was added an added device. I want to say like a year ago now, might be 2. And typically it's not charged for on your account. The SIP phone, this is a physical VoIP phone, right? So it's on someone's desk, they can pick up the handset and dial out. So VoIP, I've probably already said this, but so VoIP stands for Voice over Internet Protocol, right? That's what allows you to make and receive calls via your internet connection. A SIP phone is a subtype of VoIP phone, right? There are different types of protocols that VoIP phones can use. So when you're shopping, you're looking for a SIP phone or SIP compatible phone. And then I have 1 landline listed as well. Now you notice down here in red, I've got 21 unregistered devices. So Dash will know when a VoIP device is connected to it. If it's connected, that means it's registered, right? If it's not connected, that means it's unregistered. That could be simply because someone didn't log into their cell phone app, right? Or someone unplugged their Yealink phone that was in on their desk, right? Whatever. Could also be a network problem. It could be their ISPs having an issue. You know, it's just, as far as the system knows, it's not connected. We can't send a call to it. Right, total numbers, these are phone numbers on the account. These are phone numbers your customers call to reach your system. All right, so I have 34 numbers on this account. Now, most plans, or on your plans, anywhere from 2 to 15 phone numbers are included as part of your monthly plan price. If you go over that, you will have a per number charge per month that you're over, right? So if you have 15 numbers and you get 16, you add a 16th number, you're going to be charged, I think it starts at $199 per month per phone number. It can go up from there depending on the plan. So that's something you would want to either verify on the pricing page or talk to our account services team. Then we have a breakdown here. Actually, we have 2 breakdowns, but the first one is assigned numbers and spare numbers. Assigned number means you're using it, right? It's one of these main numbers over here to the top right. Conference number, my fax box number. It could be a number that goes directly to one of my salespeople, a number that goes to a ring group, like my billing team, or it could go to my support ACDQ, what have you. But in some assigned number is some way being used. Someone can call that number and expect to either speak to someone, leave a voicemail, join a conference, or send a fax. Right. Spare numbers, looks like I have 3. Yeah. Right. These are numbers that are on your account, but you're not using them currently. Right. Let's say you had a promotion for 4th of July here in the United States, and now you don't want calls on that number because 4th of July is passed. So you can put that number in spare. So now when people dial that number, they get a busy tone, right? So if they actually want to do business with you, they'll call one of your other phone numbers. Now, just because it's a spare number, it's still on your account, so it still counts as part of your allotment. So if you're over your 2 to 15 and you have a number in spare, you're still going to be charged for that if it's over your allotment. The next breakdown here is between US DID and US toll-free. And the US toll-free is actually US Canada toll-free, right? This is an 800 number, 888 all the way down to 833. US DID, that means a US local phone number, right? So you can have a phone number, say, in Elmira, New York, or a number in Miami, Florida, Dallas, Texas, where have you. You can have international phone numbers on your account. If you're interested in adding one, you want to email our porting team, which is porting@virtualpbx.com. They will need to know the city and country that you want a phone number in. They will let you know if there's additional requirements, and those requirements comes from those particular countries, right? Some countries are very strict, others are not. All right, and then next, down here at the bottom, we have conference bridges 8. That means I have enabled the conference feature on 8 of my users, meaning these 8 people, they can host a conference or moderate a conference. All right, over here to the top right, the main number box, I have, looks like 5 phone numbers here. Right, all these numbers act the same way. They're all going to go to the same location, and they all have the same main greeting, for example. Obviously, you can have multiple main numbers. Conference number, this is the number everyone dials to get to your conference room, including your staff members. You can have multiple conference numbers if you are so inclined. They all just go to the same place. The fax box number, you can have one fax box number. This enables faxing on your account. This is your inbound fax number, right? So if someone wants to send you a fax, this is the number they dial. The company directory, this downloads a text file. So you see all the users, their names, and their extensions. The soft phone directory, this is for use with the VirtualPBX desktop soft phone application. You would download this file and then upload it to the desktop soft phone app. And then you would be able to see the status of everyone else in your company who is making use of the soft phone, right? So you can see the status, right? I can see, oh, coworker Mike, he's not on a call right now, so I can go ahead and give him a call, and we can talk about an issue that we are dealing with a customer, right? Likewise, I can see, oh, my boss is on a call right now, so I can't call him to talk to him about an irate customer that I've had to deal with. Next up, we got the store discount code. So just for being a Dash customer, you get a discount in our online store, right? The store.virtualpbx.com. And then lastly on this page, we have the account realm. This is used in a couple of things. One, it's used as one of the 3 key pieces of information to program a third-party application, right? Third-party soft phone. It's also used for faxing out. On Dash, sending out a fax is via email currently. So you create an email. In the to field, you put the plus symbol, the number 1, area code and phone number that you're faxing to, the little @ symbol, and then you add your account realm. And then you just need to attach a PDF or TIFF file and click send, right? In terms of faxing out, you don't need to type in the subject line. You don't need to type in the body. The system doesn't look at that. It looks at the to field. It looks at the attachment. You can only send 1 attachment or 1 fax per email. All right, up here, back towards the top, we have the caller ID. This is your main company caller ID or your default company caller ID. This pull down, unfortunately on here, doesn't show them all, but it shows all your main numbers that I have allocated. Right, so right now it's just defaulting to this 408 phone number. Then we've got the company caller ID name. This allows you to input 15 characters, including spaces and special characters, that we then send out to other carriers who support CNAME. What this means is when you pick up a VoIP phone and make an outbound call, this company name information is transmitted out with your caller ID, right, with the phone number. Couple caveats about this. Once you click Save Changes down here at the bottom, all right, it takes about 3 business days for the other carriers to update their servers. We can't make that any faster. That's purely up to them. Now, not every carrier that a call can route through will support CNAME, and that's usually it's the smaller or regional carriers that don't do so, right? Any carrier you've probably heard have in terms of nationally, they support CNAME in some capacity. Now, we can only submit this information out, right, and send it out. Whether or not it shows up on the receiving device, that's up to that device and that whatever carrier that device is on, right? That carrier has ultimate say in terms of what shows up or what they send through. Additionally, cell phones do not always show CNAM. Some carriers, like AT&T, for example, you can choose to pay for an additional service that allows CNAM to then show up on your calls that come to your cell phone, right? But they're the ones who will put like spam risk or telemarketer on the caller ID, right? No company is going to put that on their own, but that's something your cell phone carriers do as a service to you. Next up, you have the company emergency or E911 information. You just want to put your address here that's associated with this phone number. So every phone number can have their own or individual E911 address, and then you can assign that address to the individual VoIP devices. So that means when someone picks up their VoIP phone, dials 911, then you can have the correct address show up for that person's location. So any changes here, you want to click on Save Changes. All right, next up, we've got hold music. So hold music on Dash is after a call has reached a user and then they have pressed hold on their VoIP phone, that's when this file will play. You can upload your own file. You just need to click upload, find it on your computer. Dash will play back .mp3, .wav, or .ogg files. You want to make sure they're recorded in mono, not in stereo, and that they're under 1 megabyte in size. And then you would click on this blue and white up arrow icon to upload it to your system, and then click on Save Changes. Hours is actually part of main number, so we'll go ahead and click on that. And let's work our way down once it loads. All right, so first section, your main company numbers. Now you see all 5 of these numbers. If you want to stop using a number, right? You're like, I don't want this to be a main number anymore. Let's say like this is a Southern California phone number and we're exiting that market, for example. I can click unassign, right? So now it's no longer a main number. It's still on my account, right? It just became a spare number. And I can even do that with this one here. Now, if I wanted to add new numbers, right, you can either add from spare numbers, right? So I can re-add any of those numbers I just removed or any of these other numbers that are here. Likewise, if I want to buy numbers, I can have my choice between local and toll-free, right? So we'll start with toll-free. You just choose the toll-free prefix you want to work with, and then click search, and then you'll see what's available. All right, you add the number. You notice in the cart it had 1, and I still have the number there visible. And the little trash can icon, you can click on that if you decide to change your mind. You can add multiple numbers at once at most locations, and then you would simply click Buy Numbers. Now the system verifies that the number was available before it adds it to your account, and now you're good to go. All right, for local numbers, it's a little bit different in that you have to know the area code that you're looking for. All right, so let's see. Let's go Northern Nevada. Do a search here. So I have these numbers available. And again, same process, right? You select a number, and then you would click buy. Now, occasionally, when you do a search for a local number, let's see, 310, let's see if there's anything there. Yeah, you'll come across this, right? So 310 is, I believe, the original Los Angeles area code. That's been exhausted for a while. So this means that we could order a number for you. You would have to contact our porting team. The problem with that is we don't know when or if we'll get a number for that area code, and you don't get any kind of choice. You just get the next one that became available, right? Someone, moved out of LA and, released their number. They got a new number when they moved. Oops. Now, for someplace like LA, if you know one of the other nearby area codes, then you can just search for it and see if there's anything available. Now you notice there's a little gear icon next to each number, so you can always click on the caller ID, so you can add CNAM or CNAME information for each individual phone number, again 15 characters. And then you can choose to turn on accepting inbound caller ID names, so that would show up on your staff members' VoIP phones. E911, again, you can set up the address for each phone number individually. Prepend is for your VoIP phone users. You can add text in front of a phone number that shows up on the VoIP phone's display, right? So I can type in promo, for example, and click Save Changes. And so now when calls come in on this 844 phone number, it gets to one of my staff members, they'll see promo and then the inbound caller's phone number, right? So they know, it gives my staff a heads up about what the call might be about. Right. Office hours strategy, you can be 24-hour open office or you can be on custom. If you're on custom, just put a check mark in front of each day of the week that you're open, and then put your open hours in 24-hour or military time. At the bottom, there's also an option to say if you're closed for lunch. You put a check mark there if you are, and then you put your lunch hours, again, in 24-hour time. And then you would click on Save Changes. Office holidays, if you're closed for holidays, put a check mark up here. And then over here to the right, you have Add Holiday. You have your options for single day, date range, and advanced. So single day, each one of those will create a new row, right? So you give it a name, like President's Day, and then you put the month and the date that you want this to be in effect, right? For date range, like we have up here for Christmas, right? I say it starts on December 23rd, ends on December 26th. Now, notice that there's no year indicator here, so you want to avoid a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You want to do each one of those individually, or a single day. All right, and then for advanced, we have this option here for retreat, where I'm saying, hey, the first Friday in July, we're closed, right? It's company picnic day. And this middle option here, you have first through fifth, as well as last. Right, beyond that, it's just months and then the days of the week. All right, incoming call handling. So this is for all your main numbers during my open hours. Right now I have all my calls going to the virtual receptionist. If I click on this, you'll see over here on my left, this is my main menu. Right, so this is what people press on their phone to navigate through the phone system. You can click on Add Route, and so then you can add, this pull down is, you have 0 through 9 as well as star and the default route. And then here you would select where it's going. So let's go up here. For instance, so again, Smart Directory, right, dial by name directory. You can send it to a specific user, right, so a specific person. You can send it to an ACD queue if you're making use of queues. You can send it to a specific device. We don't always recommend device just because if the device doesn't have voicemail capability, then the call will just randomly end. And that may not be the best experience for your customers. You can have it play a media file. This would be like if you want to give like hours of operation or something like that. But again, once the media file plays, the call ends. Groups, these are ring groups, right? So these are departments. They are ACD queues and groups are related. Basically, queues have a bit more routing options than groups. Advanced call flows, this would be if you're making use of what's called submenuing. So like you have one for English, two for Spanish. When you see people press those, they go to yet another menu where another greeting plays, and then they have another set of menu options to choose from, as well as voicemail boxes. Over here on the right, you've got your greeting options. First up is text-to-speech. You can input text up to 250 to 350 characters. This is in a computerized or robotic voice. Once you click update, it will save the file, actually update, and then you scroll down to click save and then save changes. This will save the file as main menu main open hours menu TTS. If I change this, right? So I add blah, 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 right? And then I click update, save, and save changes. It will save the file again, but it will give it the same file name. So now I have two files with the same name, and I have no easy way to determine which one is which. So what I recommend is when you make use of text-to-speech, go to your greeting tabs after you've finished, find that file, and rename it to something you'll recognize. So that way, if you need to go back to it later, you can easily find it. All right, next up is upload your own file, .wav, .mp3, .ogg, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. You would choose file to find the file on your computer, and then click update, save, and save changes. You can choose from existing recordings that are already on the system. This pull down would show you all of them typically, and then you would click update. This is actually one of the reasons why you'd want to change the main menu open hours TTS to something you can recognize if you ever need to switch back to it. Recorded over the phone. By default, it says this, right? Pick a phone registered to the account. This means the system wants you to use a VoIP phone that you've already added to the account. If you don't want to do that, or you haven't, like say you haven't received your VoIP phones yet, but you still want to record your greeting, then what you want to do is under settings here, where it says allow outside recording, you turn that on, right? Save and then save changes. So now you can call in from a cell phone or landline to your main number, and then you would enter in a PIN number. Now this PIN number is specific to this time of day, right? So this is my open hours. It only works during my open hours, right? If it's a holiday, it won't work. Likewise, my holiday PIN number would not work during my open hours. I have to make sure I'm in holiday mode to let it work. Now, if you just set up, you don't have any words, right? You just call in, you enter the PIN number, you record your file, and the system will give it a generic name. You can then change it under the greetings tab. If you have an account that's already been in use, right? So you already have greeting file A playing, and then you call in, right? You hear the file, or you hear the greeting file play, you enter the PIN number. The system will still walk you through recording it over the phone, but it's going to replace the content of greeting file A, right? The file name stays the same, but you just overwrite the content. So again, if greeting file A is like your default greeting for most of the year, right? You'd probably want to switch out from that before you call in, right? Switch it to some other file, call in, overwrite it, and then you can change the file name. Professional recording services. We've partnered with another company called Snap Recordings. When you click on order down here at the bottom, it will send you to their site. They have about 80 to 100 voice actors and actresses to choose from. They have different versions of English available, as well as Spanish and French. And I believe they have different versions of those as well. So you can do a multilingual greeting. They have what they refer to as hold treatment, mix of music and a script being read. They handle their own billing via credit card. They will deliver to you typically via email. So then you would simply just upload your own file. All right, settings. First up, we have a number of retries on this dial. So basically, person calls in and they press 4, right? That's not a valid option. In this case, that will then trigger the system to replay the greeting and gives that person another chance. So let's say they click 7. Well, they still have one more retry, right? So then the greeting plays again. Now it's their last attempt. If they don't hit something right, so they hit another invalid option, the system will say, we did not recognize your entry, and then in this case, we're sending it to the default route, which is the Smart PBX directory. If I remove the directory, right, then the call would simply end. Right, the system would say goodbye. Down here, also under settings is, allow dialing extensions. Oh wait, I skipped one, didn't I? Dialing timeout. Sorry about that. Dialing timeout is how much time the system waits after it hears a button press. So let's say I call in and I press 2. Well, the system's gonna wait about 10 seconds before it says, "Oh, you're done," and then it's gonna send me to this ACD queue. right? So I usually recommend changing this down to like 2 or 3, right? So that way, if people want to dial an extension number, they have enough time. Speaking of, then we've got this one here, allow dialing extensions. If this is on, that means when someone gets to your virtual receptionist, if they know the extension number of the person they want to reach, they can enter it, right? If I turn this off, that means they can only press these menu options. And then lastly, we have the suppress playing of the invalid entry message. If you turn that on, then if they click the wrong button, right, so they click hitting 7, they're not going to hear that, oh, invalid entry message, but the greeting will then replay. All right, so any changes you make under main menu, greetings, or settings, you want to click save. And then, I know it's not showing up on my screen here, but there would be the option to click, you need to click save changes under incoming call handling as well. Right. This is your holiday options, right? It's the same options are available, same with after hours and lunch hours. But we'll just go through these. So this one here, option 2, call comes in, it's being offered to Aaron. If he doesn't pick up, it goes to the virtual receptionist. This is what we refer to as the live operator option. Right, so this is the pull down, right? So you can select any user, you can send it to a specific device, you can send it to a queue, you can actually send it to a media file, which can be confusing for your customers, right? Because basically they're going to get 2 greetings back to back. And then you can also send it to a ring group as well. Yes, there we go. As well as one of your other attendants. Right, so but basically it's giving a staff member or multiple staff members a chance to answer the call first. If they're not able to do so, then the caller gets sent to the virtual receptionist, and it's that same one we were just looking at because we're still under open hours. The third option here, right, call comes in, offering it to Aaron. If he doesn't pick up, it's going to his voicemail box. Generally speaking, same options, right? You can send it to users, you can send it to a media file, a device, a group, a queue, as well as your, I believe you can send it to your, yeah, as well as your other attendants. The last option, which looks like was cut off, get back all the way down there. Yeah, under other, that one is skip to voicemail. I have to adjust the settings on this. And then the last one here, that's go to an additional attendant. But here you can see that last option here, skip to voicemail, sending it right to the main voicemail box. And I do see this fairly often for smaller businesses for the holidays. Right? Just send the call to the voicemail. All right, main conference number. You can add from spare, you can buy new numbers if you want to have multiple conference numbers. You also have an option here to enter a custom text-to-speech greeting. We just click enabled and then type in what you want the system to say, and then click save. If you don't have it enabled, the system says welcome to the conference and then asks them to, or prompts them to enter the conference room number and then the PIN number. The main fax box number, again, you can only have the one number. So if I didn't have this here, I would have the option to add from spare or buy new numbers. And then you have the edit fax box. Now, on this account, the fax box is broken because it's a test account. On your accounts, it will open up a new little pop-up window, and it will have 2 fields. The first field is for an email address for inbound notification. Right, so basically, fax comes in, that email, or emails if you separate them by comma, will get an email saying, hey, you got a fax, and there'll be an attachment in a PDF that you can just double click on and look at the fax. If someone dials your fax box number, right, gets that fax tone and then hangs up, the inbound notification will get an email saying you had a failed inbound fax attempt. That's something to be aware of. The second field is for outbound permissions. So you could put a single email address here, but it's actually designed for you to put your company domain there, right? So if everyone at your company, right, so you're at abccleaners.com, right, and everyone's email address ends that way, you would, in that second field, you put the @ at abccleaners.com, and then everyone at your company can send a fax out, even if they're not a user on your Dash account. And they just need that format, that +1 area code and phone number, @ your account realm, and then attach a PDF or TIFF. All right, auto attendants. These are for secondary auto attendants. The first use case I've already mentioned. That's if you want to make use of submenuing, right? So 1 for English, 2 for Spanish. You would then create an English and Spanish attendant. The other case or use case that comes up is if you have multiple businesses, right? So multiple small businesses, they have their own phone numbers, they have their own main greetings, right? Then you could set them up as a secondary attendants and all have them on the same account instead of having like 5 different accounts or what have you. All right, add an attendant. Click up here at the top. You give it a name and an extension number. The extension number is actually for your staff members to transfer calls to a different attendant if necessary. Once created, if you click on the name, you have this option here for unavailable in main menu. If you click on that, it'll flip it to be available in main menu. So when you say it's available in main menu, that means it can be a submenu option, right? Whereas if you're saying it's unavailable, that means it's a standalone attendant. If you look here, J2 is actually available, so it's actually a submenu option. The attendants can have their own phone numbers. You can add multiple numbers if you are so inclined. And if you notice here, you have the little gear icon here, so you can update the caller ID, etc. You can change the extension numbers of your attendants, right? You can add extension number here, as well as unassign the original extension. And then you got the little wrench icon under settings. And then you see I have open hours and holidays. These will match what we just set up under main menu, or main number, excuse me. And then you click on but you only have the option to send it to a virtual receptionist under the auto attendants. But again, same options, right? You would add route, you have your greeting options in your settings. And same for holidays. Now, if you have, let's say you have a business that's open 24/7 versus another business that's only open Monday through Friday, that would likely require either custom work, which might incur a one-time setup fee, or you would have to set up a separate account, right? So for all of your multiple businesses, if you have them on the same account, they have to have the same hours of operation and the same holidays. Now, auto attendance, I should point out, is a plan-specific feature. So not every plan includes multiple auto attendants. If this is something you want, you definitely need to talk to our account services team, and they can guide you to the correct plan. Devices shows all your devices on the account. Green means it's registered, meaning we can send a call to it. Red means it's not registered, meaning we cannot send a call to it. And black means it's been disabled. Up here at the top, you can click add new device, or add device, excuse me. First option is SIP phone, right? That's that physical VoIP phone. And then these are the manufacturers that support auto provisioning. If you click on them, they will have their specific models that support it. Right, and some have a decent amount, some not so many. Right, so once you find the make and model of the phone you want to use, you click on it, and then you need to give it a name, and then you need to find the MAC address of that device. The MAC address is unique to each phone. Typically, it will be on the back of the phone, like on a sticker, or if the phone's plugged in under menu status or like basic information, you should be able to get the MAC address there. Sometimes they just call it MAC, MAC. But then you would enter it here, and then you would click Create Device. Now, the only other thing you have to do within the dashboard is assign it to a user, but you're actually not done. Because in the phone, you have to bring up the phone's web user interface, right, the web UI. You need to get to the auto provisioning section and enter in a specific URL. Right, basically tells the phone, hey, go to this place on the internet, get your config file. The system will recognize, oh, I know your MAC address, here's your config file. It will reboot a couple times, and then the phone will show up as a green device. Now, for the specifics for that URL and where to go within the phone's UI, you want to go to our dash support pages. On the right hand side, under VoIP phones, you're looking for auto provisioning phones. That document will have screenshots and the specific syntax for the URL for your phone or for the manufacturer. Now, if your phone did not show up on any of these lists, then you would need to use a soft phone. So we'll skip down to that here. There is a little warning message basically about wireless VoIP technology. But then you would give a name, you would copy the SIP username. If you click on the SIP password box, then you can copy that. Oops. And then you have the account realm. Those 3 pieces of information you would need to program that phone that didn't show up under the SIP phone list. There might be additional instructions that you need to find. We have some on our site, not a lot, just because there's so many phone manufacturers and they have way too many models. And so if we don't have a guide for it, we don't have a lot of support for it. Right, cell phone and landline are basically identical. You give it a name, and then you put the plus sign, the number 1, and area code and phone number. You click on create device. Once that, so when Dash sends a call to a cell phone or a landline, right, we'll get to advanced options here. This is the default settings. So what happens is the phone will ring, you pick up, you will hear, this is a forwarded call, please press 1. Right, when you press 1, that tells the system, yes, you're there, and yes, you want to take this call, and it connects to you. Now, that doesn't work in every situation. For instance, let's say you're setting up a cell phone to actually go to an after-hours answering service. Right, that answering service, it's probably automated, or at least initially, and that automated system can't press 1. So to get around that, you would click on the box here in front of allow use of cell phone's voicemail. So now when we send a call to that phone number, right, we hear that pickup tone, we connect the call, right? There's no need to press 1. Right, so then your automated answering service takes over the call and the customer is handled. Now, if this is actually going to your cell phone and you have this checked, if you don't pick up the call but your cell phone voicemail picks up the call, we still treat that like a connected call, so that inbound caller ends up on your personal cell phone's voicemail box. Some people want that, some people definitely do not. So that's something to be aware of. The other one that comes up is this one, keep original caller ID. If this is checked, what happens is, say customer Mary calls into your system, it gets to you on your cell phone, you see customer Mary's phone number. You don't recognize it, you're like, I'm tired of these auto warranty calls, and you just let it go to voicemail. Right? Hopefully you're able to connect with Mary later and, complete her request. Now, if you uncheck this, right? So what happens then is when the call comes to your cell phone, it won't be Mary's phone number that shows up. Instead, it will be this number up here. Right? So it's a business call. So you're more inclined to take it. All right. Cell phone, I did cover relatively quickly, but this is also for use if you're going to use a third-party application like soft phone from Counterpath, for example. Give it a name, click on create device. You'd use these pieces of information to program that application. If you want to use the VirtualPBX cell phone application, you need to add them on the users page, not on the devices page, which we will get to. And then web phone, you can add the web phone here. I don't recommend it just because it needs to be associated with a user to be able to actually use the web phone. So I recommend just adding them directly to the user. Excuse me. All right, greetings. This is your greeting manager. It shows all your greetings on the account. You've got the names here. The source is going to be either upload, meaning you uploaded a file, TTS, meaning is a text-to-speech greeting that you created on the virtual receptionist or auto attendants, or recording, meaning you recorded it over the phone. You have an option to download each of these files, so then you can then listen to it to make sure it's still relevant or that you want to keep it. You have a little wrench icon here under edit. This is where you can change the name. as well as get rid of it if it's no longer needed. Right, groups, this is shorthand for ring groups. These are departments. You click on add group up here at the top. You give it a name and an extension number, and then you would click and drag your staff members that you want to be in this group. And then you would click on create group. Once a group's created, if you click on the name, you can always change the name. And then you have group call attempts. This is how many times the inbound caller can be sent through to your staff members, in this case 2. Over here to the right, you've got little up and down arrows, so you can change that, increase the number of attempts or decrease. And then you would click on Save Changes. Under the members box, right, so now you see all your assigned members, and this right now is set up as blast ringing, meaning a call comes in, it's going to ring all my staff members at the same time until one of them picks up. Something to keep in mind about staff members in a group, if they have multiple devices, all of their devices will ring. Right, so let's say Jean has got 3 phones on her user. Call comes into this group, all three of her phones will ring until she picks up the call, or until a staff member picks up the call. Now, along the top here, you have a timestamps, right? 0 seconds, 20 seconds, etc. This last one here is a box that you can edit. Now, the default for a new group is 120 seconds, right? 2 minutes. In this case, we've extended it here on this one. Now, you can also have this option here to distribute. If I click on that, so now I have my callers going in this order. If for some reason I want to change the order, right, you can click and drag a person and move them to the top, etc. And then you would just click distribute again. And so now calls would go in this order. Right, now if you need to remove someone, you would just click on the remove box down here at the bottom. Right, this is where you would add someone else to the group if you need to add more staff members. Extensions. Groups can have multiple extensions. Phone numbers. You can buy new numbers or add from spare numbers, so a group can have its own phone number. One thing to keep in mind about adding phone numbers to a group or to a user is that phone number does not pay attention to your hours of operation, right? People call it, it will ring phones at like 2 in the morning. So something to be aware of. And then we've got group features here at the end. So bring back is a file that will play back it plays back to your inbound caller while waiting for one of your staff members to pick up. Now, ringback replaces the ringing sound. So if we're offering calls and for some reason we're not getting that feedback from the other from the devices that they're ringing, nothing will play, right? So the system needs to hear that, oh, I'm sending a call to Jean's cell phone. The system needs to hear that it's ringing to her. Once it hears that, then the ringback file will play. If for some reason that we're not getting that feedback for whatever reasons, this file will not play. You can upload your own file, .wav, .mp3, .ogg, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. You want to make sure this file, in terms of its play length, matches your ring time, right? So back here, for instance, if we were on this group, right, 240 seconds, I would need to make sure that my ringback file plays for 2 minutes, or 4 minutes, 240 seconds, because the system will not loop it for you. All right, next action, if you enable this, if no one answers, where do you want to send the call? And then you have a pull down here, and you have many options. You can send them back to the main menu, right, the virtual receptionist. You can send it to one of your additional attendants. You can send it to a call queue, right, one of your ACD queues if you have them. You can send it to a specific device. You can send it to a specific user. You can send it to a voicemail box. Allow call forward. If you enable this, this means you're letting your users make use of call forwarding on their devices. I.e., they're not going to be at their normal desk phone, so they forward it to their cell phone. Now, if their cell phone's already a device on their user, you don't need to have call forwarding. And then we have caller ID prepend. If this is enabled, this is again for your VoIP phone users. You can add additional name, text information, or number information typically in front of the caller ID. If you have both, then both of these will show up on the phone's display. So typically you want to do one or the other, just in terms of saving screen space. So that way you can still your staff can still see the inbound phone number. All right, numbers. These show your numbers in use and where they're going. So like this number is going to this particular user. This number is going to a call flow. This could be going to a queue, for example. Office number, this is a main office number, etc. Spare numbers, these are numbers you're not using. Also notice you do have the gear icon for any of these numbers, so you can make those settings for E911, etc. Now, I have over 30 phone numbers, so I want to reduce my bill. I can do so by going here. You notice now I have an option to delete. So then I click on delete. It says, are you sure you want to delete these two phone numbers? I confirm. And now the numbers are off my account and my bill just went down. Now, I still have the option to buy local and toll-free numbers here, and then we just add it as spare numbers so I can assign it later. Port, this actually starts the port process. Let's give it a name. Choose US local toll-free. Hit next. And then you need to upload a file. All right, in this case, it wants a copy of your bill. It will then ask you for the phone numbers that you are porting. It will ask you for the address information. Then it will give you an option to download a letter of agency or LOA. You need to fill that out and sign it and then upload it. There's like 4 or 5 checkboxes you need to check, and then you would submit the file. Then you would click submit the port request. Once you click submit, you should get an email right away saying, hey, you've submitted your port request. By the next business day, you should get a second email from our porting team saying, yes, we didn't get your documents, and yes, we've submitted the port request. If you don't get either of those emails, you can always email porting, right? PORTING at virtualpbx.com with those documents, and we can still process the port manually. One thing about the LOA, it asks for like your company information. That should match what your current carrier has on file, right? So porting is you're moving a number from, say, AT&T to VirtualPBX, right? One carrier to another. So whatever AT&T has on file, that's what you would put under the company name information. It does need to be signed, right? It can be a digital signature, or you can print it out and physically sign it and scan it back in, whichever way works. So toll-free numbers usually take about 3 to 5 business days to port, typically, if everything's correct. Local numbers can vary, anywhere from 1 business day up to 2 to 3 weeks on average. That has a lot to do with what carriers are involved, and again, if the information is correct. If we get a rejection, it's relatively a generic message in terms of they'll tell it's rejected for address mismatch. They don't necessarily tell us, oh, you got the street number wrong, or you got the zip code wrong. Right. Likewise, if we get like unauthorized user, and they don't tell us who the correct person is, right? We just tell, hey, we got the wrong person signing for it. We pass that information back to you, and then you're going to need to go contact your current carrier to find out what the correct information should be, or to get what's called a CSR, customer service record. So then we can dispute the rejection. All right. Users. These will show all your users on the account. If they got the little blue suit icon, that means they're a system admin, meaning they can do all the things we've been talking about today. If they're just the gray person, that means they're a standard user. Adding a user, you click up here at the top, add user. You enter their first and last name. The email address used for login needs to be unique for each person. and then you create a password for them, and then you select an extension number. You can enter in your own extension number here. You don't have to follow the suggestion from the system. By default, a voicemail box is created for the user, and that enables the voicemail feature for the user. Up to you if you want to include in the user directory. You can change that decision later. Company send emails to an alternate address. You then enter another email address here. What this does is any emails that would come to the user, right? So let's say voicemail notifications. By default, they would go to the email address used for login. If you check this and have another email address, you're sending it to this other email address instead. And then for me, another important one here is send credentials to the user. I recommend checking that mark. So when you're done, you click on create user. That person will then get an email with their login information so they can log into Dash. Once a person's created, you can click on their name. Right? You can change their name. You can change their credentials. Right? Their email address, password. You also have the option here to just send them the password reset email. The voicemail box PIN number, you can create a temporary PIN number for their voicemail box. Now, if your staff members are making use of VoIP phones, you don't have to create a PIN number for them. They can pick up their VoIP phone, hit *98. That will log them directly into their voicemail box. And the first time they do that, the system will prompt them to create a PIN number as well as to record their voicemail greeting. Right, here you've got the option to send to an alternate address again, as well as to be in the company directory. Over here on the right, this first is a pull down, so you can change an admin to a user or a user to an admin. Here we've got the account time zone, or the user time zone, right? So you have staff members working remotely, or they've moved out of area, but they still work for you. You can have them have the correct time zone, so that way, like their voicemail emails have the correct timestamp. Next up, we got the display language for the web pages for when you log in. The default is English. You also have the options for French, German, and Russian. Then here, bringing timeout. This is how much time the system will offer calls to a user. Now, this is when calls come in directly to the user. So someone comes in, dials Aaron's extension number. It will ring his devices for 20 seconds. 20 seconds is typically plenty of time for a landline or a VoIP phone. For a cell phone, that might be problematic. We typically recommend about 45 seconds to 60 seconds. In terms of how PBX systems work, right? Call comes into us, and then a PBX system will then send it out to the contact numbers for the user. So we send a call to a landline, right? So we're sending it out to the landline telecom. They say, oh, we know exactly where that is. Boom, send the call directly to them. Whereas when we send a call out to a cell phone number, right, goes to the telecom, they say, hold on a second, we need to find them first, right? Pings the cell phone towers, and then sends a call to the correct location. It's that delay in terms of your cell phone provider finding you is why you need to have additional time for the ringing timeout. All right. Users can have multiple extension numbers if you want them to. Right, or if you want to change their extension number, you would just add a new one and then unassign. Users can have their own phone number. Again, you can add from spare or by numbers. They can have multiple phone numbers if you want them to. Again, this phone number would bypass your hours of operation. Let's go down. So on a user, you can add devices, right? You have the same options, SIP phone, cell phone, etc. For soft phone, there we go. So by default, it shows you the third-party setup. But you notice below the configuration guide here, It says use third-party application. It's grayed out. If you click on that, it will flip it to say use VirtualPBX application. You can have one per user or per email address. So in this case, this user already has a soft phone. Let's try it here. But basically, once it flips over, you would give it a device name. You click on Save, and then Save Changes. Once you click Save Changes, that user gets an email with their soft phone login credentials. Then they can just download the app either to their computer or to their soft phone or to their cell phone. One thing to keep in mind is your staff members can use it on both, right, a soft phone or on a cell phone or on a computer. They just can't be logged into them at the same time, right? So if I have the app open on my computer, I have to make sure I'm logged out of it on my cell phone. Likewise, when I'm gonna switch, right, need to log out of it on my computer, bring up the app on my cell phone and log in there. And then likewise, you have the option for the web phone. You just simply give it a name, click on Create Device, and then Save Changes. Right, then we have user features. First up, caller ID number. This only applies if a user has their own phone number. And then you would select, or if they have multiple numbers, you select one number, and then you click Save Changes. So what that means is when this user makes an outbound call, their caller ID is their own phone number, not the main company number. All right. Next up is call forwarding. You have off, on, and failover mode. Now, call forwarding, turning it off or on, your users can do themselves. They can do that via the user portal, which we'll be getting to later. They can also do it directly from their VoIP phone. There's a feature code for it. Failover mode is for your VoIP phone users. Basically, when the system detects that a VoIP phone becomes unregistered, the system will automatically forward calls to this phone number. Right now, if you just turn it on, then you just put in the phone number, and then calls are forwarding there. Hot desking, another VoIP feature. This is for when you're in a shared office environment, for example, and you're not going to sit at the same desk every day, right? So then, what this does is I set up a hot desk ID number for this user. They come in, they sit at desk number 7. They pick up their VoIP phone. They hit *11. That toggles on hot desking, and then they enter. The system will prompt them to enter their hot desk ID. It will, if you choose to have it have a PIN number, it will then ask for the PIN number. But once you've done that, the system said calls will now be sent to this device. So for the rest of my workday, any call that comes to my user, gonna ring at the phone I'm sitting at. End of my day, I pick up the handset, I hit *12, that turns off hot desking. The next time I come into the office, let's say that's Friday, right? Someone's already sitting at desk number 7. I'm like, no big deal. Desk 16, you're open. I sit there, same process, right? Pick up the phone, hit *11, enter my hot desk ID, and now calls are coming to me at desk number 16. Voicemail box was enabled when I created the user. Typically, transcription, by the way, is a plan-specific feature. Basically, the system tries to read the voicemail and put in text for you. But this is your typical setup here. So when calls, if you're not able to answer a call, right, it gets the call or gets the voicemail, the system will send you an email with that message attached, right? You can just double click on it. It's an MP3 file, and you can listen to it on your computer. Now, voicemail boxes can hold up to 100 messages. So if you have staff members who aren't diligent about clearing out their voicemail boxes, then you may want to consider this option here, right? Which is basically after that email notification goes out with the attachment, the system will delete the voicemail from the voicemail box. This means that the user can only view or listen to their voicemails via their emails. They're not going to be able to call in and listen to their voicemails or view them via the portal. Fax box. Users can have their own fax boxes. When you click enabled, you have the option to add a number from either spare or buy a new number. Now in this instance, you can only buy one number at a time. You cannot have multiple fax box numbers. Or you can add an extension. If you add an extension, what you're doing is you have to find an available extension, and then it becomes an inbound fax option only, right? So the person faxing to you has to call your main number, get to the main greeting, hit the fax box extension, and then they hit send fax. Typically, that's something that's doable from a physical fax machine. If they either have a handset so they can listen to it, or speakerphone, or they can put pauses in terms of the phone number to add space, pauses before it enters the extension number. Your electronic fax services may not be able to fax to an extension, so that's something you would want to be aware of. Which is also why I typically recommend, just if you're going to do this, set it up with its own phone number, because that means they can also just fax out, right? So it's both inbound and outbound at that point. Because if you only have an extension number and the person tries to fax out, even though you have the main fax box set up, the system defaults to the user's fax box, and it tries to use the extension number as a caller ID. So if I have extension 399 for this fax box, right, then when I try to send that fax out, the system says, okay, caller ID is 399. That's not a valid phone number, so the fax will fail. Conference bridge. Once you enable the conference bridge on a user, the only thing you need to do is create a PIN number for that user and then click Save Changes. The user can then go to their user portal and they can change their PIN numbers. Follow Me is for users with multiple devices. When you first enable it, it actually looks like this. So you need to tell the system, okay, what devices are we using? You uncheck the boxes. And then these are sliders, right? So I can adjust that, right? I got the total time up here. I can click Distribute, just like Green Groups, right? And then I would click on Save Changes. Music on hold. You can have your users have individual hold music if you want. You would just click Enable, upload a file, .wav, .mp3, .ogg, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte, and then you would click on Save Changes. And again, this only works when they press hold on their VoIP phone. And that's what supersedes the music on hold that we set up under the dashboard. Customize call recording. So when it's first enabled, it looks like this. And you're basically telling the system which kind of calls are we recording. Right? Inbound internal means my coworker Bob called me. Right? Inbound external means customer Mary called me. Right? Outbound internal means I called coworker Bob. Outbound external means I called customer Mary. And then you click on Save Changes. And Do Not Disturb just means you turned on Do Not Disturb, meaning calls won't be offered to you if you're in a queue or group, and any call that goes directly to your extension will go to voicemail. Voicemail boxes. It shows all your voicemails on the account, or voicemail boxes on the account. You notice the ones here in the third column, these are your user voicemail boxes, right? Created when you created the user. These other ones were manually created. Right, you click Add Voicemail Box here at the top. You give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number, and then you would click on Create New Voicemail Box. Once it's created, you can click on the little wrench icon, and actually you can do this on any voicemail box, right? So you can always get the voicemail box number and the PIN number for any voicemail box. If you go to Advanced, Reading Media, so here you can upload a media file, in this case to a manually created voicemail box. You also have the option for a temporary file. This is for that vacation voicemail greeting. So if there's if something is selected under temporary, it will supersede the media file, right? So then when the person comes back, you need to change the temporary back to none, and then their normal greeting file will play. And then for a manually created voicemail box, you want to upload a file or find a file to use. Recipients. So for your user voicemail boxes, they already have one recipient built in, right? For the ones that we just created, they don't. So that's why you would need to click on add new recipient, and then you just enter in an email address. And you can click, if you click add again, you'll add more, right? An additional email person. And you can do that for your user voicemail boxes as well. And then options. So on a voicemail box that you've already uploaded a greeting or recorded a greeting for, and you've added the recipients, then you can go ahead and click on already set up. And that means it's ready to go. Down here, you have, by default, right, attach messages to email. And then you also have the option here to delete after notification. One other thing that sometimes comes up is this one here, announce only mode. This means it's a voicemail box that gives out a message, right? But it doesn't take any in. So hours of operation, directions, that sort of thing. All right, advanced routing. This is for a feature called Direct Inward System Access, or DISA. This allows a cell phone or landline user to call into your system and then log in and then make an outbound call, right? And when they make that outbound call, it won't be their cell phone number that shows up as the outbound caller ID, but your main company number. Oh, you would click on this. First, you would click enable, and it just automatically generates a PIN number for you. If you click on edit settings, you can change that PIN number to something else. You can also give it an extension number, right? And then click save changes. So now you call into your main number that goes to your virtual receptionist. You enter in this extension number. The system will prompt you for the PIN number, and then you'll hear dial tone, and then you just enter area code and phone number that you want to reach out to, right? So you make that call. Again, your cell phone number doesn't show up on as the outbound caller ID, right? It's going to be this number here. Now, by default, this is not enabled on new accounts, so that's something you would have to request to have enabled. And the reason for that is because this is an avenue for fraud, right? If someone's able to figure out the PIN number and the extension number, then they can log into your system and make outbound calls on your account, and you may not know about it right away, right? For most people, they wouldn't notice until they got their next bill. Some people may notice because they check their call logs. So call logs shows your call activity on your account. Little green arrow to the right means it came into the system. And you can click on that to get some more details. And you can see which device it was offered to. You do typically want to see normal clearing. That means the call ended normally. Scroll down. Little arrow to the left here means this was an outbound call. And in this case, this is he's using feature codes here. Start to 1. That is for a queue to mark ready, in fact. Now, little fire hydrant icon here. This creates an email. In the body of that email, they'll have the technical information about the call. I do suggest, and this email is already addressed to support at virtualpbx.com. I do suggest typing additional information in the body of that email, like what you experienced, right? Like you had bad call quality, it's echoing or something like that, or your phone didn't actually ring. You see here, when you see originator canceled, that means the inbound caller hung up before someone could pick up. All right, feature codes. Oh wait, sorry. Wanted one other thing about. You can have a custom date range, and you can also download the file. Right. So if I do something like this, I click filter. Right, so now I see all my calls that come in. I can download this. It'll be in a CSV format. So then I can use a spreadsheet program to sort the information in a way that's more usable for me, if you're so inclined. All right, feature codes. I've talked about a couple of these. Call center. These are for people making use of ACD queues. Right here are the call forwarding ones. Hot desking. There's a few more. This is also available on our support pages, right? Just the feature codes doc. There's also the phone commands cheat sheet PDF. Basically has all of these with a short description, all on one page. All right, so we've been in the dashboard this whole time. Next up is ACD queues. ACD stands for automatic call distribution. It's a call center feature. Standard ACD queues, I believe, are $15 or $30 per month. This will depend on your plan. Not all plans are able to add on ACD queues, so you'd want to check with our account services team. There's also ACD queues Pro, which I believe start at $99. You would click on Add New Queue, but I'm just going to click on the gear icon here for an existing queue. You give it a name, and then a queue can have either a phone number or an extension. It cannot have both. And then you have these routing strategies. Most idle means whoever's been waiting the longest for a call gets the next call that comes in. There's ring all on the standard queues, which means rings everybody. It's not available on the pro queues. There is round robin, which is available on both. It just equals out over time. There's least calls, which means the least amount of connected calls, right? So if Bob has spoken to 2 people, Mary has spoken to 5 people, the next call comes in under least calls, goes to Bob, right? And then there's least offers, which is the combination of missed and connected calls. So in that 2 and 5 scenario with Bob and Mary, let's say Bob's been offered a total of 20 calls, including his 2 connected, but Mary's only been offered 5 calls. Under least offered, Mary gets the next call that comes in. Now, say for instance, let's say Bob and Mary have been logged in for a couple of hours, and then Dylan starts, right? And then he logs in. Under least offers and least calls, right? He's getting the next call that comes in until he equals one of the others. Right, hold treatment. You can upload a file, right? .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. For the pro queues, you can also have things like announce their position in line, announce their expected wait time, as well as multiple music files, right? So you can like play music file 1, announce their position in line, play music file 2, announce, their expected wait time, play, file 3, and go on from there. All right, queue timeout is measured in seconds. This is how much time someone can wait on hold. The queue call limit is how many people can wait on hold. Now, this is on top of people who are already talking to staff members, right? So if Bob and Mary are both on calls and, Dylan is in the queue, right? So there can be 4 people waiting on hold on top of the 2 that are already speaking to Bob and Mary, right? And then once Dylan picks up, right, then another person can come in and wait on hold. Now, if timeout immediately if empty, this means if I have no staff members logged in and a call comes in, the system will treat them as if they hit the 600 timeout already here. The escalation queue, this would require a second queue, but basically saying if your staff members are busy, send calls to the secondary queue for additional staff members to be able to pick up calls. All right, and then you have the escalation call flow after timeout. Basically, when the 600 seconds hits, I'm sending it to this voicemail box. You have many options, right? You can say none, which means the call would just end. You can send it to one of your attendants. You can send it to a specific device, back to the user directory, any of your ring groups, a media file, any of your users, and any voicemail box. One thing to keep in mind is if you're making use of the escalation queues, the system keeps track of which call that came in, which queue the call came into first, right? So call comes into this queue first and then goes to an escalation queue. It keeps track of that because of this timer. Once this 600 seconds expires or hits, the system says, okay, Mr. Call, even though you're in a second or third queue, I'm sending you back to this timeout rule. All right, so you go into this voicemail box. All right, agent behavior. First is the recovery time measured in seconds, basically how much time after an agent is done with a call. The system will not offer them another call from this queue, in this case for 30 seconds. Force away on reject or missed. If an agent misses a call, then you can have the system automatically put them on away mode until they make themselves ready again. And then agent connect timeout measured in seconds, in this case 20. Currently on queues, you can only receive calls on a VoIP device, right? Web phone, soft phone, or SIP phone. So 20 seconds should be typically enough time to route a call to them. All right, so once you have queues created, wow, cannot talk. Over here on the left, you click on members. Now this is a list of people that I've assigned to be available in queues. Right? They're not in all of the queues, but they can be in any queue. If I click on manage members up here at the top, over here on the left, these are the people who I could still add to queues, right? They're not currently available to be in queues. And then these are people in my queues. And if I want, I can say I can remove J here from the queues. Right? And this means now that when J next logs in, he won't have the option to go to ACD queues anymore. Right. On an individual queue, you would click on add agents. Right, so on the right, these are the people who are assigned to this queue. On the left, these are people who I can still add to them. And I can do that if I'm so inclined. Once you've assigned agents to a queue, you can also add managers. And it takes from the people who are already assigned, you can then move them over to be a manager. For your staff members, right, so they have the feature codes, right? They can hit *20 to log in, *21 to make ready, or they can just log in through dash, right, dash.virtualpbx.com, click on ACD queues. When they get here, they click on begin session. Right, and now I'm logged in, but I'm marked away, meaning calls are not going to be offered to me. You have a little phone icon here. This allows you to determine which phone you're going to answer calls on. Again, it needs to be a VoIP phone. And then once you've done that, and you typically only have to do that once, then you mark yourself as available. And now I'm told the system, yes, I'm ready to take a call. So now when a call comes into the queue, I will be offered a call. Right? I have a login timer. Green check mark means I connected. X means I missed a call. Now, and then you have the number of people who are available or who are active versus assigned. Average wait is how much time the inbound callers have waited for their call to be answered. Calls in queue, these are calls that are actively being routed to staff members. Missed calls means a call that didn't get missed. And abandoned calls means that means the inbound caller hung up before they can get to the escalation timeout or a staff member answered. Just so you know, the missed call here and this number, the red X number here, may not match, right? So an agent can be offered the same call multiple times, right? And this little the number by the red X here will climb, right? If they don't pick up, but then that caller ends up going to voicemail. It will only show up as one missed call, right? Because in general, it was just the one call, but it had multiple attempts to an agent. Now, let's say it's lunchtime. I can mark myself away. Again, your staff members can use feature codes. And then at the end of my day, I would click end session. All right. blacklist. This is a feature on all accounts. This allows you to create a list of phone numbers that you do not want to allow to connect to your system. Right, so you're blocking them from reaching you. You would click on Edit Blacklists. Actually, let's go back. Yeah, click Edit Blacklists, and then you click Add if you want to create a new list, or you would click on an existing list. You give it a name. Block Anonymous. This means if we don't get valid inbound caller ID and you turn this on, that means we're blocking the call. Right, they're going to get busy tone. Beyond that, down here, you put +1 area code and phone number, and then you would click Add, and you would keep doing this until you're done with the phone numbers you want to add. You then click Save. You go back to Settings, and you want to make sure your active lists over here on the right under Selected. Right, so any of these 3 lists, these are now active. Any phone numbers on these lists, when they try to contact any of my phone numbers on my account, they get a busy tone. You don't have to have multiple lists. You can have just one huge list if you want. And then just make sure you click Update to make sure the changes all take effect. Right, Dynamic Caller ID. This is a plan-specific feature. This allows you to create rules or feature codes to change your outbound caller ID for your VoIP phone users. So first one here. Right, so you give it a name. You choose a phone number on your account that you want to be displayed. And then I create the feature code. So in this case, my staff members, from their VoIP phones, right, they hit *71, then they enter area code and phone number that they're reaching out to. As that call goes out, the phone number that shows up on the receiving person's caller ID is this number here. Right, another option is over here where I'm saying, hey, when any of my staff members on a VoIP phone dial a 408 area code phone number, then this phone number is what will display as the outbound caller ID. Right, so no feature code necessary. Now, any phone number that you're having displayed must be a phone number on your account already. Right, you can't make it display a phone number that's not on your account. Right, Fax Manager. This is available on all accounts that have faxing enabled. You can go to any of the fax boxes on the account to see their inbound or outbound activity. Again, this is a test account, so there's not a lot of faxing going on. You also have the email to fax logs. If you have something here, there'll be a little eyeball icon here to the far right. If you click on that, that will give you additional details about why that fax may have failed. Likewise, under outbound faxes, right, it's a possibility you'll see, a failed status. And if over here on the right, there'll be an icon, you can click on it. That might give you more information. Sometimes it's just unknown error, which is not helpful, but sometimes it'll say like connection timeout, meaning the call didn't connect in time for the fax to complete transmission. Monitor. This is a plan-specific feature, but this allows you to see the status of all your staff members. Right, so you can see you can go by name, or you can go by specific devices. Right, you can see everyone, or who's just available, who's busy. Up here, all right, you see the active inbound calls, and you would see a list of every inbound call and who they're going to. And then you have a list of parked calls. So this will show like the caller ID as well as a parking spot number, so you could recover that, or someone can then get that phone call. Number Manager. This just takes you basically back to your spare numbers page. So again, you can buy numbers, port numbers, etc. The Recording Manager will either tell you that you don't have set up with AWS, or if you have linked your Dash account with AWS storage, will show your call recording storage, and then you can play back, etc. Typically, by standard, right, without AWS storage, you could just go to recordings.virtualpbx.com it uses your Dash login to log in, and then you can see your recordings there. Your accounts have recording storage as part of your plan price. If you go over that, there is an overage. That's going to vary by plan, so you'd want to double check with our account services team to find out how much storage you have and what the overage is if you go over. Reports is advanced reporting. This is a plan-specific feature. This allows you to create your own reports to get better clarity about what's going on with your call activity. It's a lot more detailed than the call logs. Voicemails, this goes to the voicemail manager. It's available on all accounts. You just select the voicemail box that you want to go to, and you will see all their voicemails here. There'll be a little box in front of a voicemail. As an admin, when you're looking at other people's voicemail boxes, right? If you click on that box, you will then have an option where you can send it to a different voicemail, right? So the call came into the wrong person, right? You can say, oh no, this goes over here. Likewise, you can mark messages to be deleted, so that way a voicemail box no longer gets that voicemail box's full message. You would, for the individual voicemails, you would see the date, the time, the phone number that they were trying to reach, the phone number it came from, the duration. You would also have the option to play back that file. Webhooks. This is actually also a plan specific. This is to link Dash to other software via APIs. If you're interested in this, you actually need to talk to our sales team. They apparently have the information on this. You can also see what examples of what we have done in terms of linking Dash to other software at developer.virtualpbx.com. Like you can see like what we've done with like linking Dash to Slack, for example, among other things. And then we have the user portal. Every user on the account has their own user portal. As an admin, you cannot get to their user portals, but you've already gotten to everything already, right? So a user can get to their own voicemail box. They would see any voicemails that they have. Now, if you set their voicemail box to delete after notification, there would be nothing here, right? Because the system already sent it out and then deleted it. Call history. You can see their inbound and outbound calls. You can change the date range to see if there's more information. You can see their fax history. Right? Now users can see their contact list. Now this is within Dash, right? So all your Dash users, your groups, etc. This is not something they can add to. So like your sales team wouldn't be able to add their client list to this. This is just within your Dash account. The conference tab. Over here on the right, this is where your users can update their moderator pin and participant pin numbers. And then you got some checkboxes. So first is when people join, are they muted, right? Or you can have them deafened when they start. And then these two down here, play entry and exit tones. While you're in a conference, this option here, you can add or invite other Dash users to your conference. Here you can lock a conference. This will you mute everybody, unmute everybody, and then hang up the call, meaning ending the conference. In a live conference also, participants, you can mute a specific person as well as kick a specific person. And then settings and devices. This is where your users would set up their own call forwarding. So you don't need to set it up as a user feature for them. Right, they just put a check mark and then +1 area code and phone number of where they're sending it to. Again, this should not be a device on the user. This should be something they only use sporadically. Right, because if it's already a device on their user, you don't need to use call forwarding. It's already going to their backup device. As well as see the status of their existing devices. All right, and that is everything. I'll wait around a minute or so in case people have questions that they want to submit via chat. And then we'll go from there. All right, not seeing any questions come through, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Thank you for your time today, and we will be back next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific.